Episode 35, Travel Mishaps and Culture Shock.
Ahem, so travel mishaps and culture shock. Who hasn't experienced at least one of those in their lifetime? I mean, whether you're a seasoned traveler or a first-time tourist, you're bound to run into some unexpected surprises along the way. For instance, have you ever found yourself in a foreign country, trying to ask for directions but not speaking a word of the local language? It's like playing charades, but instead of guessing movie titles, you're trying to communicate your way to the nearest bathroom. And let's be real, nobody wants to end up in the wrong room when nature calls. And then there's the whole culture shock thing. I remember when I first visited Japan, I thought it was going to be a breeze since I had watched a lot of anime growing up. But boy, was I wrong. For one thing, I didn't realize that slurping your noodles loudly was actually a sign of appreciation for the meal. Here I was, trying to eat as quietly as possible, thinking I was being polite, but apparently, I was offending everyone within earshot. And don't even get me started on the toilets. Have you ever encountered a high-tech Japanese toilet with more buttons than a spaceship? I mean, I didn't even know where to begin. I pressed one button, and the toilet seat started heating up. I pressed another button, and water started shooting out from all directions. I half expected a robot arm to come out and give me a back massage. But travel mishaps and culture shock aren't always negative experiences. Sometimes, they can lead to some pretty funny stories. Like the time I accidentally ordered a live octopus at a Korean restaurant because I thought it was a side dish. Let's just say that sucker wasn't going down without a fight. So, if you're planning on traveling anytime soon, just remember to keep an open mind and a sense of humor. Who knows, you might end up with some hilarious stories to tell when you get back home. Or, you might just end up with a live octopus on your plate. It's all part of the adventure. Alright, folks. Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, travel. But, as with most things in life, not everything always goes according to plan. And when it comes to travel mishaps, I've got a few stories to share. One time, I was in Japan and had just finished a delicious meal at a local restaurant. Feeling a bit adventurous, I decided to try out the fancy Japanese toilets that are famous for their many features. I was having a grand old time pressing buttons, trying to figure out what each one did, when all of a sudden, I accidentally hit the one that sprayed water all over my pants. Talk about culture shock. And speaking of culture shock, let me tell you about my experience in India. I was visiting a small village and had the opportunity to stay with a local family. They were incredibly kind and welcoming, but I was not prepared for the lack of privacy. The entire family slept in one room, and I was given a small corner to call my own. As I was trying to settle in for the night, I noticed a pair of beady eyes staring at me from the darkness. It turns out that the family's pet goat had decided to make itself at home in my little corner. Let's just say, I never expected to share a bed with a goat. But enough about my travel mishaps, let's talk about yours. Raise your hand if you've ever experienced culture shock while traveling. Maybe you ordered what you thought was chicken, only to find out it was actually frog legs. Or maybe you accidentally insulted someone by making a hand gesture that meant something completely different in their culture. Whatever it is, we've all been there. In conclusion, travel mishaps and culture shock can be frustrating in the moment, but they also make for some great stories to share with your friends and family. So next time something goes wrong on your trip, just remember, it's all part of the adventure. So, let's talk about travel mishaps and culture shock. Traveling can be a lot of fun, but it can also be a real pain in the you-know-what. Especially if you're like me and you always manage to find yourself in some kind of trouble. I remember one time I was traveling to Japan, and let me tell you, the culture shock was real. I didn't know a lick of Japanese, and I felt like such a fish out of water. I remember trying to order food at a restaurant, and I must have sounded like a total fool because the waiter just stared at me blankly. I ended up just pointing at random things on the menu and hoping for the best. Let's just say that meal was a real adventure. And don't even get me started on the toilets in Japan. I mean, they have buttons on them for everything. I was just trying to use the bathroom, and I ended up feeling like I was piloting a spaceship. It was like, do I really need all of these options? Can I just pee in peace? But Japan wasn't the only place where I've had travel mishaps. I once went to Italy and tried to order a pizza with pepperoni on it. I thought I was being pretty clear, but the waiter just looked at me like I was crazy. It turns out that pepperoni in Italy isn't what we Americans think of as pepperoni. It's actually a type of spicy salami. Who knew? And then there was the time I went to France and tried to speak French. Let's just say my accent was so bad that the locals thought I was speaking another language entirely. I remember asking for directions to the Eiffel Tower, and the guy just looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, I don't speak English." In English. It was like, come on man, give me a break here. So, yeah, travel mishaps and culture shock can be a real pain. But you know what? They make for great stories. And at the end of the day, isn't that what traveling is all about? Having experiences that you'll never forget, even if they make you feel like a total idiot at the time.
And that wraps up another laughter-filled episode of Not So Funny A. If you enjoyed the jokes generated by our AI algorithms, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join our comedy-loving community.